In a democracy, what is most important is information. Information and opinion of the masses or public opinion. So it is very, very important because in a democracy, it is these people who ultimately vote, who ultimately have the right to protest and agitate. And the information is formed, or the whatever the opinion is there, it is formed by the conduct of the press, by the means of reporting, right? What is happening, what is the government doing, what are the lawmakers doing, how many people are there with criminal records. So all of this is coming from the press over here. So the people who are interested or who are associated with the power corridors, who want to become very powerful, so they have an interest in controlling the press so that they can control the opinions that go to the people. So control of the press is very critical to them. So time and again we find that there is an assault on the freedom of press. So this is a very important topic concerning the General Studies paper 2. Now moving forward, the press plays the role of a watchdog. It is also known as the fourth pillar of the democracy. The other three pillars being the executive, legislature and the judiciary. So even the judiciary can be held accountable by the press. And how is that? The judiciary, for example, the judicial delays that take place, the manners of judicial appointment have been questioned, judicial overreach. So nobody is spared by the media. And this is primarily done by the three pillars, that is transparency, participation and accountability. Transparency by means of presenting the information to the public. Public takes action on that information, that is participation. It could be by means of deliberations, it could be by means of voting. So when that happens, automatically accountability is fixed. So freedom of press is very important. And freedom of press is also guaranteed as a fundamental right under Article 19, 1A. And so much so that even the Honorable Court, Supreme Court, has said that the freedom of press lay at the foundation of all democratic organizations. Now the topic is the threat to the freedom of press. So we have established why it is important, but let us see what is the threat. And if we are to say or express our opinion about the threat, then we have to give a particular basis. And that basis comes from reports or indexes. So one such report is Freedom of Press Index, which is released by Reporters Without Borders. Right, Reporters Without Borders, or in France it is said as Reporters Sans Frontières, both the same. So according to this, which releases the information on the basis of pluralism, media independence, media environment, self-censorship, legislative framework, transparency and the quality of infra of production of news and information. According to this, India is ranked 142 out of 180 countries. So India is very poorly ranked based on these parameters. This means it is in the class of countries which are deemed as very dangerous for journalism. So this is a very serious cause of concern. And even if we talk about a neighborhood, right? Our neighborhood means Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Nepal, Bhutan. So amongst them also, it is we as Indians which champion or pride ourselves as a democratic country or the leaders of democracy. But here also we rank very bad. So most of the countries are in the hundreds, while we are at 142, except for one country, that is Pakistan, which is ranked at 145. So some saving, some grace for them, but still we rank very poorly over here. So in this regard, two particular issues have been flagged by Reporters Without Borders, that agency which releases the report. It says that in India there is an environment of intimidation, that is a sense of threat amongst the journalists. And other thing that it raised was it felt that the issue of Kashmir, especially post the Article 370A. So after the abolition, the issue of Kashmir is very, very severe. So these are the two prime factors apart from these rankings, because of which India is ranked very poorly. Now let us look at the issue of threats to free press. So one is the natural one, that is the environment of intimidation. And what does that mean basically? Government using its agencies to control views or controlling the press. How do they do it? They try to, using of income tax raids or probe by the enforcement directorate or use of surveillance, etc. against the press, especially those who are critical of the government. For example, let's take the case of people who are reporting poorly of the government on the handling of the COVID cases, right? So many of the journalists which are critical of the government's handling of various issues actually have been found in a list of, it has been seen that surveillance is going on those journalists also. Now they are not a national security threat. They are a threat to the ruling party for sure, but not a national security threat. And so much financial expenditure and government resources are being used on it. This is very poor basically. So this is being done. Second is we have this case of Dainik Bhaskar Group, one of the leading newspapers for Hindi, and they were very critical of the underreporting of deaths during the COVID-19. So during this time, the income tax raid has taken place on their offices. Now this may be a very legitimate cause, right? The government has the right to do income tax assessment, etc. But then it is taking place at a time and only with this paper which is critical of the COVID reporting. So this raises certain alarm bells over here. Likewise, there are cases where the journalists have been charged with very severe laws like sedition under section 124A of the IPC, capital A. Next is attack on journalists. So one was intimidate, that yes, they will be under threat, you will be under fear. But next is attack on journalists. We have cases, very famous cases, like the killing of Gauri Lankesh, a journalist which was critical of the government. So we have number of cases, but here we have a very consolidated report on the threats that the journalists experience. So as per a report that was published in the BBC by Free Speech Collective, it says that in the year 2020, 67 journalists were arrested and 200 physically assaulted. Then there was a journalist which were reporting on a gang rape of a girl in Uttar Pradesh. Imagine, she was in jail for 5 months over here. So this is a serious issue over here, and this let's leave that only. So for 5 months this person was in jail. Then moving on, if we talk about attacks on journalists, it becomes all the more serious when we talk about the women journalists who are critical of the government, because they face fierce online trolling and threats. So we are all aware of the issues of threats of rape and murder, as well as vicious trolling that takes place on our social media platforms. So this is a cause of concern, and I gave you one example on the attack of the journalist. And there are also these social media has emerged as there are certain news channels on social media like Facebook, etc. So some of the journalists who were critical of their local representatives, they were found dead under mysterious circumstances. Their dead body is lying along the railway track. So there are a lot of cases like that. So this is again an attack on the freedom of press. Then the issue of censorship. Censorship means that the press cannot publish certain types of articles. It's fine for using it for hate speech, right? Hate speech which incite communal tensions, etc. But censorship for articles that are critical of the government, then it is not justified. So this is an assault on freedom of press. Then the government, government trying to freeze or squeeze the press from the finances. That is also one example of attack on the freedom of press. For example, a certain press, a certain company that reports, right? For instance, we have an example of the Times Group. So the Time Groups had raised allegation that the government is not spending money on ads on their particular newspaper. And this is not the only newspaper, there are various other examples. So those which are critical, they have seen a reduction or no government ads being done on their newspaper. Now government ads are critical because the press or any media house relies on finance. They can function only by finance. Finance is needed for their daily operations as well as payment of salaries, etc. And for finance, advertisement is a main chunk from where the finance come, and government ads, or the government is the biggest spender of ads. I hope you know that. So by means of the schemes of the government or certain announcements or about the contracts or tenders, there are a lot of government ads that you can see on your newspapers. So if the government reduces this to the press on a particular entity, then the press gets the signal that we have to report in a particular way which is favorable to the ruling government or ruling party. So this is that. Then the concern over ownership of the media houses by the corporates or the government. So ownership, because whosoever owns it, right, they are the owners, so the press will have to function in accordance with the owner wants. Now we have certain examples, I'm not saying they do it, but Reliance is there. So Reliance owns many of the media houses, it has a key stake in that, and particularly in the India Today group, in which it has majority stake. So a corporate house may dictate the functioning of the press for its own interest, or maybe the ruling party it sponsors, maybe for that also. Likewise, we have examples of certain news channels like Zee. So the owner of the Zee is associated with the ruling party. Likewise for Republic, and likewise for people which are opposite, which are against the government, like the NDTV. So NDTV is associated with people who are from the contrary viewpoint. So we know with the ownership, the viewpoint of the press gets also affected. Then the issue of paid news, that is people paying money to the news channels or to the press to present in a particular way. So here there are certain confessions or candid conversations where they have people, important politicians, where they have said they have paid money to the media houses to present a particular story. So this is being done. Then the issue of manipulation of the TRP. Now this is basically a wrongful conduct on the part of a media house, and this was particularly one very famous journalist who says the nation wants to know, in a lot more shrill than what I can do, right? So of that journalist, he was accused and he was in jail for some time for this particular reason. Now let us see how this threat can be mitigated. I cannot say that the threat may not be there altogether, but yes, it can be mitigated to quite an extent. So let us see what measures can be taken. So one concern over here is a need for an independent regulation, an independent oversight. When I say independent of the government, because the government has an interest over here. So maybe by means of a legislative framework, a law can be passed providing for independent regulation of the media and the press. So that can be done, right? For example, we have elections take place. So for that regulation of that, we have Election Commission of India. So government is sidelined and Election Commission of India gets the powers over there. So that way we feel that the conduct of the elections is free and fair. So likewise we can have, and this is just for example, don't write it in the answer. So we can have the same in our in the case of the media industry also. Now talking about the media industry, when we talk about regulation for press, that is newspapers, we have the Press Council of India. And for TV media, we have the National Broadcasting Standards Authority. Now Press Council of India does have certain powers, statutory powers, but there is a case for strengthening it. And then for national broadcasting, that is an autonomous body created by the news agencies themselves. It does not have powers to deal with the issue of paid news, manipulation of TRP, etc. It can give a judgment, it can give a viewpoint, but it cannot enforce that punishment. So there is a need for a proper regulatory body. And that regulatory body can encourage the practice of self-censorship, as well as work on the issue of transparency and the quality of infrastructure. So that can be incorporated. Second is we need to create a culture of transparency. One way could be that we have a voluntary, or we have a compulsory disclosure of information. And what information? Information about what is the source of money to a particular channel or press. This should be in public domain. Likewise, the issue of we can look into the issue of ownership. Who owns a particular media house? So we know, okay, fine, if you're talking about this India Today group, so some leaning towards the Reliance has a stake with, let's say, about having a new project. So we know there is a conflict of interest. So every time there is a news coverage on that, the media house should have to write that we have a stake in this particular thing. So that way it can help making the news more objective or more neutral. Then lastly, there is a need for a code of conduct. See, the freedom of press is a fundamental right. They are at a higher pedestal, right? Then in that case, they have an obligation also to have a rightful conduct. India's judiciary, in many of the bureaucrats, they have to follow a certain code of conduct. There is a code of conduct rules also. So beyond the regulation of the media houses, for the individual persons also there should be a certain code of conduct, so that which bans the practice of manipulation of TRP, paid news. All of this can be looked by this over here. So once there is a violation, action can be taken by the regulatory body, which functions independent of the government. That is very, very critical. So this is all we have on the freedom of press. Now remember, when you're writing your answer, you will have to be much more neutral, right? You have all the points over here, but this is for example's sake, because we have to create a context. But once you have all these points, you will be able to write it in a much more neutral way, because under pressure we have a tendency of writing what we see from the news, and we end up writing the same and we lose marks. So this you keep in mind. And other thing is, one question could be about the threat on the freedom of press. Other could be about the reason for India's low ranking in the freedom of press index, with certain recommendations. You may be asked to comment or give recommendations on the same. So this again, you can use this same points for this particular topic on this line also question. And in this reference, the government has constituted a panel, right, a body to look into the issue of India's poor ranking. And it says that this panel has said that the government should handhold, or it should work with certain credible news agencies. So again, there is a question mark about what does the government think is credible. So this again needs, at least there is a point over here that you can take it as an objective, that credible means those people who have certain credibilities, right? Not all, it's not possible to work with all agencies. So certain agencies on a well-defined parameters can be chosen. So like that you can shape your answer. So this is all we have in this particular topic. You're watching IS Primers, which stands for Relevant Current Affairs. with me, Shubhashish Singh Rehal. Bye bye, take care, and all the best for exam.